Hola habitantes del mundo, soy como nuevo para canal, estamos aquí con un nuevo video de terror y saluden al pequeñito de Clofin. Vamos a ver videos de terror que me asustan mucho, parte 2.
Crossover, grow here. Analog horror. Why is it that analog horror is so scary? This is a question that has been asked by some of the greatest minds of our time. Albert Einstein, Galileo, and Germa 985. Well, the answer is pretty simple. Or is it? See, to get the answer here, we'll need to get some personal examples from my experience and use those to figure out what exactly these videos have in common that makes them so scary. If you'd like to be scared even more by my terrible posts, you can also follow my Twitter and Insta link below. Also, thank you so much for almost 2 million views on the last analog horror videos that scared me video and all the support you guys have given me. I really don't deserve it.
Gracias por asustarme.
Also, I'm sorry for not uploading for like half a year.
Vamos a ver pues este.
To start off, we'll have to venture back to one of the first analog horror videos ever made, that being the Wyoming incident.
Porque
Fear is only as
me
deep
asusté.
as the mind allows. This is a quote by some Japanese person from, I think, at least 10 years ago. Anyway, the mind. That series of neural receptors firing off inside of that wrinkly pink lump of flesh inside your head is basically you. But alright, let me cut to the chase. Look, I'm giving you the quote because your mind can basically create your internal fears, right? Like, let me give you an example. You're sitting around relaxing, having a good time, and someone sends you a link to a video with a creepy thumbnail. Immediately you have your reservations and your thoughts start racing about what it could be. You start to get paranoid. Maybe you even feel a little more uncomfortable than you were before. You may become more aware that you're alone and that it's dark outside, that you haven't looked behind you in a while, and that it almost seems like there's something different inside the house. But that's just all
Ok,
inside your
maldito.
head. Your mind is creating fear because in reality you haven't even seen the video at all and nothing has changed from before you saw that thumbnail. Finally, you hesitantly open the video and it's just some stupid meme video, you know? It wasn't even really bad at all. But if you've never clicked on it, your mind would have allowed you to feel paranoia and fear for no reason at all. Psychological horror is what I was leading into with that, by the way. Because your mind could basically make you more scared, all it takes is an idea. That's where the Wyoming incident comes in. So flashback several years and there I was, sitting in a chair in the living room watching the Wyoming incident on my iPod Touch, which I think was like a 6th generation. Not that it matters, but you know, I want to be historically accurate. Also, what was with the iPod Touch hate? Everyone was always like, why don't you have a phone, you know? And I thought it was actually a pretty good idea. You basically get a pocket iPad, which is super convenient at times, and
What the fuck?
as I began to watch the video, the first thing that really hit me was the atmosphere. The music sounds like the perfect theme to being abandoned in space, alone to drift forever endlessly. Or like that place the squirrel was alone in, I don't know. The images of the different faces also immediately scared me. They looked like mannequin heads or something. Like when those masks in the Goosebumps episode, The Haunted Mask, came alive and started chasing that girl. I think there was also a Twilight Zone episode with living mannequins, but I can't exactly remember if they looked like these faces or not. Either way, there was one more thing that really freaked me out, which just so happens to be literally the only other thing this video has: the text. In particular, two phrases absolutely terrified me. You cannot hide forever. We stand at the door. Not even exaggerating, I remember sitting there and glancing up over and over at the front door, terrified that people who looked just like the faces in the video, in like black suits or something, were just standing there, waiting on me to open it. And this was in broad daylight. I can only imagine what my mind would have thought up if it had been night. Thankfully, this isn't like the Mandela catalog, so I didn't conjure up some Wyoming incident themed alternates, I think. Remember when that Canal 5 Twitter page started posting a bunch of weird videos? If you do, you probably also remember when Scare Theater made a whole video explaining and debunking everything that was going on. That's all well and good, but there was one video in particular that really intrigued me when I was watching his analysis. A video called My New Girlfriend. I remember posting a comment at the time hoping someone would respond with a channel name or a link, but they never did. Believe it or not though, I actually did find this video. Eventually. In fact, I even wrote down the exact channel and had the video beside the title in my notes just so I wouldn't forget. Well, I did just about everything but download the video, and now the channel that posted it is gone. Great work, me. You had 6 months to get this right. I tried looking around web archives and even going to the third page of Google, but I couldn't find anything. If anyone, including Scare Theater for some reason, happens to see this and has any idea if there's another copy of this video out there or has the full archive, send it to me on my Twitter or Insta. My bad for starting a lost media search, but I've seen the entire video, so I at least know it existed at one point. The way I originally found it was just typing "my new girlfriend November 19th, 2018, and it just showed up. It doesn't anymore if that wasn't obvious enough. Anyway, I've just told you all to go basically find the One Piece for me, so good luck. If anything does happen with this video, I'll make sure to let you know in the next analog horror video that scared me video like 6 months from now. Speaking of lost media, Jeff the Killer.
No.
A creepypasta originally posted in 2008, I think?
2008?
From 2006 to 2008. Anyway, the origins of the image infamously associated with the story are still relatively unknown. Of course, like any lost media, people are constantly trying to find leads and answers. This is where we get a video from Blame It on Jorge about the whole thing. It's a great video, very informative. Always bangers from that guy. However, exactly at 8:48 in this video, another video is mentioned. A video called NNN Temporary Broadcast. Yeah, you can guess what I'm here to talk about. So back to the original theme of this video that I
Qué bueno que estás
abandoned.
conmigo, perrito.
What else makes analog horror scary? One word. Reputation. Think about it. If a video itself is basically known to be an urban legend, or in the case of NNN Temporary Broadcast is an actual Japanese urban legend, it automatically has an air of fear around it at all times. This type of fear was actually first discovered by none other than Alexander Graham Bell, who is famously known for wanting ahoy to be the greeting for phone calls instead of the much more boring hello that was coined by Edison. That second part is apparently actually true. Thanks for ruining that, Edison. Graham Bell would be noted as saying, "I couldn't believe how scary that Ring video actually was, dude. It was honestly in the top 5 scariest things I've ever seen." Yes, he actually said that. Don't ask me for a source. So the video opens up with an ear-splitting beep that lasts not 5, not 10, but 25 seconds. The good thing is I won't have to worry about any audio-based horror now since I've become temporarily deaf. The audio thankfully finally distorts and kind of sounds like when you're trying to watch a video and your PC crashes before we finally open up to the temporary broadcast. A kind of chilling theme slowly creeps up on you at first. It sounds like something from a game possibly, but I'm not sure what. During this time we see a bunch of names, or so this commenter says, because I don't know Japanese nor do I know anyone who speaks it. Clearly, I need to get out more. I'm unsure what any of the numbers beside the names mean, so if you know, you can always comment below. After this, it apparently shows the names of some public transportation routes that are available along with some companies. After this, text pops up on the screen that says, "That's all for tomorrow's victims." What are they? Victims of daytime television? Am I right? Am I right, folks? Alright, I'll be here all day. The video begins to beep and distort again before an image of what I can only imagine is something from a Japanese commercial pops up on screen, followed later by a school or apartment hallway. The images kind of go back and forth until just briefly at 4:10, a very famous face pops up. What's even more coincidental is right after this, text pops up that says, "Good night." Very interesting considering Jeff's phrase is, "Go to sleep." Does this mean that Jeff is urban legend status? I hope not. From what I understand, the text at the end of the video basically just says that this is a fan recreation of the urban legend, and that no victims, companies, etc. that were mentioned are real or something to that effect. Just getting the disclaimers out of the way. I really don't even have much else to say about this video. I just figured it was creepy, a very early example of analog horror, and nobody else really said anything about it, so why not? Since I haven't talked about creepypasta for 5 seconds, let's talk about this video from Vibing Leaf titled The Grieving Retake.
Su imagen siempre
This
te
whole
pone.
video is based off the popular and kind of infamous Amazing World of Gumball, The Grieving Creepypasta, which is about a creepy new Gumball episode that aired at 5 a.m. for some reason. I guess just because it's scary. It's basically about Gumball grieving the loss of his brother and sister as they both passed away against their will, if you catch my drift. After a whole episode with a bunch of crying and unsavory imagery, including what looks like the life of the narrator's own little brother being ended, Similar issues begin to happen in real life when the narrator's little brother disappears and their parents are the top suspects. Of course, nobody else saw the episode, and even though they were somehow able to get in direct contact with the creator of the whole show, he just said that he made something similar without all the graphic stuff. So I guess some insane guy just decided to psychologically torture this person by handcrafting and animating extra custom parts to this lost episode. And maybe they also took away their little brother and parents. Who knows? Or maybe they just happened to be there and recorded that horrible thing taking place to add to the end of the custom episode they made. Anyway, back to the retake. This video is made by Vibing Leaf, who is known to be pretty talented at recreating popular creepypasta through their own use of art, animation, and voice acting. After some flashbacks, we see Gumball in his classroom looking pretty sad, understandably so. This is of course because he couldn't save Darwin and Anais. It flashes from the classroom to Darwin standing in the cold, not fully intact to say the least. He's staring wide-eyed at a box before some mysterious force takes his life in quite the fashion. After that, we see what's in the box, Anais' head. But the much scarier part, and the reason I included this video, is what happens next. They show this demonic creature that reminds me a lot of Ion from Bleach. You know that guy? Can't tell me these two aren't related. The fact that there's this creature taking them out instead of, I don't know, some insane guy just really hit home for me in a way I didn't think it would. Maybe it's because I didn't know what to expect. Either way, this part just really hit me. It's also terrifying because there's really no explanation on what it is or anything. It's just standing there, menacingly. After that, though, it also shows the parents understandably grieving in front of their children's graves. Yeah, Gumball also passes away, spoiler alert. And that's really it. Very cool video. Thought it deserved a little segment.
Muy cool, me gustó. Like. Ahorita anuncios.
Blue Channel is not, in fact, about the color blue, the ocean, the sky, or even Blue the dog. Actually, I'm not really sure what Blue Channel is about. But I do know that this channel hosted a commercial for a substance called phthalocin. What does phthalocin do? Well, like most substances, it elevates certain emotions in the brain. The only difference is there are different pills for just about every single emotion. We got some real bangers like jealousy, frustration, nervousness, you know, just all the things you'd want to make yourself feel if you were an android that never experienced human emotions before in your entire existence. Imagine that though, like there's a group of people all partying and someone just replaces all the pills with nervousness, so everyone just gets really uncomfortable and kind of stands off awkwardly until the party just ends. Okay, that's actually pretty hilarious, but it's probably a good thing we don't have these pills. As if we don't already have things like Datura. But anyway, forget about those natural emotions. Anyone can feel happiness whenever they want to, right? So who cares? You ever wanted to feel a bit of degrance, or what I can only imagine equates to either something intimate or an extreme case of dry mouth combined with, I don't know, bliss, maybe? I mean, he doesn't look sad, I think. Humber, which looks like you smoked that weed from the gas station. If you know, you know. Nage, which looks like you're patient zero for the most terrifying zombie apocalypse virus known to man. That, or someone is just blowing a lot of air into your face nonstop. Dorselessness, which looks like the inside of a log. How could you possibly come down from that? Like, if you effectively lose the majority of your face and head, is that just gonna grow back when this phthalocin wears off? Imagine you just turn back into a regular guy inside after that and people just look at you and say, phthalocin, and you just reply, well, maybe you just nod your head. Andric is both a dentist and plastic surgeon's worst nightmare. Who looks at this and says, yeah, I'll take some of that. Both forms of Verination seem like an alien life form put on a human skin suit. Ponish also looks like a horrendous apocalypse virus, only this time they have no mouth, so I'm not really sure if it would spread anywhere unless it's spread by like mutant mushrooms. Arfam kind of looks like if you took a rubber human figure and twisted it up a lot. I don't know, that's just what I see. Kine, well,
Eso quién sabe qué
looks
es.
like it would be an experience. Franticness seems to turn you into a flesh tree, so if you're into that, there you go. Teluge is either also something intimate, or like you've gone through some of the worst physical pain known to man. Onlint makes you look like a cryptid, so you could probably run around and scare people, I guess. And Lorik is just a ditto trying to become a human. So anyway, call now if any of those interested you. I know they interested me.
Díganme en los comentarios si quieren que llame ese número.
Alright, usually I don't even give out any warnings since I try to keep this channel as lighthearted as I can, but this final video we'll be talking about is a bit much. Or at least it definitely was and is to me. So prepare yourself.
Un
I'll still try my
selecte.
best to keep it lighthearted, but you've been warned. I think I first saw this video maybe in late December, probably the last week or second to last week of that month. I don't think I could have fathomed that it would be as terrifying as it was though. What video am I talking about? Analog horror faces. If two words could come to mind about this series, the first would be horrifying and the second would be impressive. Impressively horrifying. Even the video itself starts off with a warning. Of course, I get to this part of the script just as it begins to get really dark. Go figure. By the way, the noise, music, background theme, whatever you'd like to call it, of this video is absolutely terrifying as well. I'll probably have it playing in the background at least for this part where I'm mentioning it. It reminds me of some type of emergency siren. Maybe that's why it creeps me out, but I'm honestly not sure. After the warning, it goes on to explain that police found 3 paintings in an abandoned storage area, and each of these paintings represent recent homicides in the area. You know, maybe the artist just found the paintings distasteful and abandoned them. After all, it's not exactly the most tactful thing to paint victims of horrendous crimes that haven't even been solved yet. Then again, who exactly would decide to paint these? Well, whatever, I'm sure we'll find out later. The first is based on a woman named Carla Gray. The image, of course, is titled Carla's Teeth. It looks something like this. Now, this may not strike a lot of you as particularly creepy. Sure, it looks weird, but we've seen a lot of weird here. I kind of felt the same way at this point. The lack of any other noise but the constant droning combined with the empty background was heavily creeping me out, like it is right now, but the image wasn't too bad. One thing about this, though, is that every image is telegraphed to appear before it does, so you have a level of anticipation each time. Will it be worse than the last? What could the next image even look like? You know, that type of thing. It's almost better than a jump scare in a sense, like reading a scary book and turning the page to see a creepy image. The next victim is Jackie Graham. Her painting is titled Floating Jackie. This painting was just cool looking to me. It reminded me of some old Japanese painting or something. It was actually so cool that I decided to purchase a shirt of it from the creator's Teespring, which, knowing Teespring, it will probably be here in 3 months or it will never come at all. Only time will tell.
Tomó un mes, pero se llegó.
So I had to support. It wouldn't be long until the images turned into pure terror, though. The next victim was James Miller, who survived without a face for several days. His painting was titled James' Secret Face. This one was definitely worse than the others. It still wasn't terrifying, but it was definitely more eerie, at least to me. It was at this point that my heart rate definitely was speeding up. I was starting to feel like the first time I ever listened to creepypasta. Back then, it scared me so bad I had to sleep with the lights on for days. Good times, man. Good times. Anyway, back to the bad times. It then says even more paintings were discovered, and even more terrifyingly, these paintings weren't connected to known cases at the time. This means that yes, these were people that hadn't even been found yet. Kind of makes you wonder who this artist could be, right? These include Wax Doll Tom, which is self-explanatory, Lisa's Secret Face, which is of course also self-explanatory, Hanging Jimmy, again, self-explanatory. I'm not saying this one, nor do I even fully know what all was done to this poor fictional individual. And yes, if you wanted to know, every painting has a real-life shirt, including that one. Do with that what you will. Daniel After the Fire, the most iconic image and the thumbnail. Jennifer's Last Stare, which even looking at it now while writing this script has me absolutely terrified.
Okay, esta sí está creepy,
that I'll be sleeping with every light on in my house and that I will be triple checking the locks. I also might cry a little bit, but that's besides the point. Scream Maggie Scream, which is a pretty cool looking one, very porcelain mask looking. And of course, after the police in this universe went public with these paintings, they got even more. James, Jackie, and Jimmy. Great stuff. I especially like how accurate the second one looks. Like a real insane person is ending these people's lives and painting them. You thought all of those were pretty bad though, right? There couldn't possibly be any worse than that, right? Well, our little artist friend decided to make a self-portrait, which looks like this. I guess that's the artist we were looking for. Gotta be honest, doesn't really look like an individual that minds painting a homicide victim a little too soon after the case has gone public. Or private. Or just painting it while the act is being committed. Whatever works. And with that image, I was thoroughly horrified beyond anywhere I thought I would be. Even over a month later when writing this, I am still terrified of it. And by the way, this is actually part of a pretty interesting series that I'll probably analyze on my more serious main channel at some point. And if you can imagine, the second episode has images that are actually even worse. Maybe I'll cover that one in like 5 to 6 months when I finally release another analog horror videos that scared me video. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Y es el video. Bueno, díganme si quieren que vea, o sea, los videos originales, o sea, o sea, los videos estos, o sea, buscar los originales para yo, pues, analizar las fotos y esas cosas. Este, bueno, suscríbanse, denle like. Adiós. Bye.